Today we're going to talk about why BANT is dead, like really dead, and why you keep losing sales because you keep using it. All right, what does BANT mean? BANT is an acronym for Budget, Authority, Need, and Timing. It's a sales technique that many companies teach their salespeople to help them qualify an opportunity. They always argue that if the prospect has no budget, if they're not talking with the right decision maker, they don't have a need for the product or service, and the timing just isn't right, then there's no sale to be made. Sounds somewhat logical, but let me explain why this is a completely backwards way of selling. This is a perfect example of whoever came up with this technique doesn't understand human behavior, doesn't understand how this puts salespeople in a position of weakness and excuses on why they cannot sell. This technique is outdated, it's way overused, and it's basically everything we train you not to do using NEPQ. First, let's talk about the budget part of BANT. BANT teaches you that before you do anything, you first have to see if they have the budget for what you're offering. And this is more typical in a B2B complex selling environment, not really used in B2C sales. So here's the major problem most of your prospects, when you first start talking to them, don't know they have a problem. Or maybe they do know they have a problem, but they don't know how bad the problem really is. Or maybe they don't know the consequences of what will happen if they don't do anything about solving the problem. Or through your advanced questioning, we call that NEPQ, that we train you within our sales training courses. You're able to help them see that not only do they have one problem, but you're able to help them see that they have 2 or 3 or even 4 other problems they didn't know they had. How could they properly budget or create a budget for problems they didn't even know they had before you got on a sales call with them that helped them pull out even more problems? Doesn't make any sense. I can assure you, when you help your prospects see in their mind that they have problems they didn't even think they had, and how bad the problems are, and how bad it's affecting them, they will move heaven and earth to go get the budget. They will move funds from another department to solve those problems that they didn't know they had before they started talking with you. Let me give you an easy example of this. Let's say that you have a really bad headache, and you have budgeted $50 to $60 to go out and get some pills to solve that problem. You then go to your doctor because the pain hasn't gone away. The doctor asks some questions, basically diagnoses you, and through his or her questions, they suggest that you might need a head scan. When they do the head scan, they find a cancerous tumor and tell you that if you don't treat it, you probably have 1 month to live. And to treat it, your insurance is not going to cover most of it. You're going to need another $300,000 to have surgery to remove the tumor so you can actually live. Well, guess what? The hell with the budget. You're going to go out, you're going to sell the house, get the 401k, borrow, beg, and steal to solve the problem. Remember, before the doctor asked you some questions, you didn't realize you even had a bad problem, right? That's why you should never ever assume that a company who tells you they only have this amount of a budget up front is not a buyer. Through your questionability, it helps them realize how bad their problems really are, how it's affecting their business, and they will do anything at that point to solve that problem. Let's talk about authority. Unless you sell a $5 per month magazine subscription, basically if you sell anything that's B2B, there really is not such a thing as a one decision maker unless it's a mom and pop retail store. According to Forbes, the average company from SMB to large enterprise has 6.8 decision makers. 6.8. So realistically, the first person you talk to in a company, let's say it's a C-level executive, is not going to be the ultimate decision maker. Maybe just someone who's going to influence the decision, but probably not the final decision. The decision makers are going to be a mix depending on the size of that company and depending on what you sell. It could be the CEO. It could be the board. It could be a head of a department. Let's say if you sell advertising or lead gen, it could be the head of the marketing department. What about the people responsible to implement the changes? Or let's say if you sell software or systems, they might not like the change, so they might push back and try to influence their boss why they don't want to change to your solution. Or maybe they feel they might lose their job if they do change, so there's going to be resistance. So you have to ask questions like this. John, can you walk me through your company's decision-making on solving problems like this? Or who besides you in the company would be over approving the budget to solve these type of problems? You repeat back the problem. Or can you walk me through your company's decision-making process so I understand? Okay, let's talk about need. Well, if you want to be at the very top in the sales world, you have to do much better than just selling to their needs. You have to be able to sell to what their real problems are. Just because your prospects don't think they need anything in the beginning doesn't mean they don't. As the saying goes, you don't know what you don't know. All it requires are you asking the right questions at the right time that trigger them to start seeing that they have many more problems than they thought they had, and what those problems are doing to them and the company's bottom line, and the consequences of how bad it'll be if they don't do anything about it. Let's talk about timing. Now, this will take care of itself from your questioning skills that help build urgency in their mind, that once they see how bad their problems are, the root cause and how they're being affected by the problems, okay, at that point, timing becomes now instead of later. Once they start to feel a lot of pain and relive that pain, it builds urgency in their mind that they have to solve this now, not down the road. This is why BANT is just a bunch of old school thinking that loses so many sales that you could be making. Stop using it unless you like losing sales. Okay, we just went over why BANT is dead and why you keep losing sales because you keep using it. And that is your tip for the day.